Hey, this is Hardline, Destructoid's video game news podcast. I'm Jordan Devore. Today I've got Dale North with me.
Hey, what's up?
And Steven Hansen's back.
Salamat pagi.
I don't know what that means.
What?
And Conrad Zimmerman.
Hello.
So the VGX happened, and boy did it happen. Conrad and I were in the same room together watching this, and it was, I don't want to say a train wreck, but there were some jokes that didn't really go over so well. I actually kind of liked the show, to be honest.
I think it's the best Spike video game awards program that they've ever done.
That's the way to say it, yeah. To be
Now, I mean, the bar was really, really low. Really low.
The bar for me was I think it was the year Jack Black hosted, and they did the on-stage teabagging skit. That's where the bar was for me. So this was better than that.
Yeah.
I want you to think about something.
Go ahead.
Think about if what's his butt wasn't the host.
Joel McHale.
Yeah. If Joel McHale wasn't the host, and someone that was knowledgeable and actually cared, or even acted like they cared, were there. Do you think it would have been a good show?
Well, I don't know that it would have been a good show yet. I mean, it's still a bit dry, but the thing that I appreciated about it, and I think the thing that's being lost in all of the rage over people who hated the show, was that it very clearly demonstrated that they're making an effort to speak to gamers now, as opposed to some sort of nebulous bullshit mainstream that was really only interested in their Call of Duty and their Madden. And those people are fine, and they should be playing games, and that's great, but it's not... That wasn't the show gamers wanted in the first place, and now they're trying to make something that they do want, and I appreciate that.
Joel McHale was the only thing in the show I liked, because he was doing...
I did like him too.
He was doing the same... I mean, he was doing our job for us, like Max, Ben, and I were doing a snarky live stream, and he's criticizing Jeff Keighley's 4 layers before we can make fun of them.
I liked McHale. I thought he was funny. I don't have a problem with my hobby being made fun of, and so that I didn't take any offense to that or anything. I thought it was in need of rehearsal. Some of the jokes were really not funny necessarily.
You got the impression that was the first time they were reading some of those aloud. At least that's what I thought.
I like how honest he was about
exactly
the terrible production values. He kept clapping, and there'd be no one clapping because there's no one in studio, and he would just point that out, or he would at the very beginning is like, my good friend Jeff Keighley, who I just met for the first time 5 minutes ago. He wasn't trying to do this Jeff Keighley level of just oh yeah, I'm gonna say the word gamers 6 times per sentence.
So you didn't Steven, you didn't like the format then? Because I like Joel, but I thought the format, I think it can work with the right host.
Well, that was the thing, and what I said going into the show ahead of time is that Joel McHale probably just wasn't a good host for this particular show. On another year when the format's a little more established, that's fine, but the sarcasm really made it harder to take it seriously at all, which is unfortunate.
It was such a Frankenstein thing. I mean, trying to put Jeff Keighley as a straight man to Joel McHale's just very belligerent sarcasm just doesn't work. You can tell in Jeff's face every time McHale just totally takes the piss out of the whole thing. But I mean, it has some promise, actually having developers on and interviewing them. But again, you have the weird set design with layered in sheet metal and what are those?
They had a fancy car. What else?
Gran Turismo car, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Turning handles and the weird concert. Let's send it out to
that Loiter Squad thing. Yeah, while we're on that subject, but I'm sure that whole event, the GTA 5 concert thing, was a great idea. That was a good idea. Cutting to the musicians and just leaving them there to fend for themselves in some sort of disgusting gladiatorial competition to be funny was a bad move. They should have stuck an experienced host with them, and and interviewed them in the way that they interviewed the devs. That could have been entertaining. What they did was a misstep.
And again, anything they planned and showed, all the skits were just like the Smosh Future Gamer skit seemed like something out of the fucking Big Bang Theory. Like, it was just gross.
Well, that is what they do, to be fair.
But don't show that to your
I'm not saying I
4
liked
billion
it.
viewers.
Yeah, I'm not saying I support it or anything. I'm not a fan of their work, but they'll love Smosh.
No, they're huge for a reason.
Well, yeah.
I'm not gonna hate, but my problem with the whole show is that it was just uncomfortable, and I blame mostly Joel for that, because I go back to, if you were to unplug him and put someone else in, it may have been more lame, but at least it would have been a bit more respectful. Conrad said, and I kind of agree with Conrad that, like, people can make fun of our hobby. They do it all the fucking time. They will for the rest of the time. But there's a line, and you can at least try to be respectful. When shit isn't going down, it's okay to make fun of it. But when you have guests on or respected people in the industry, and you're just kind of dumping on the situation before it even gets going, it's just going to be miserable, and it's going to be hard to watch. It's going to be uncomfortable again. So I wish Joel would have dialed it back some, and like you guys said, were more rehearsed. It would have been kind of okay then.
Well, I mean, the bit with Tim Schafer was pretty good. You get experienced developers on there. You have an honest conversation. That can work.
Well, the thing I kept hearing coming out of the show was, next year, why don't we just have Jeff Keighley and Tim Schafer host the show? I mean, how great would that be? Schafer knows his shit. He could absolutely be entertaining and speak to games in a language that the gamers understand and will find entertaining.
Well, let's also get writers that don't pull Reggie on stage and then say, "Let's make a meme."
No, the worst part about that was the poor Retro Studios guy who had to excel us on Donkey Kong. And I love Donkey Kong Country, but that was bizarre.
Well, that was the other thing, is for all the shit we give past VGAs, like, usually they nailed it with big trailers and announcements and whatever, but the show started with, here's Cranky Kong in a game that I think was supposed to be out this year, here's a port of Tomb Raider that came out last year, and the PC version is $10 on Steam. Like, how is that getting anyone excited for next gen?
Well, I think the problem there comes down to that, again, refocusing of the show. It didn't have the star power that the other ones did. It wasn't being broadcast live on television. There were a lot of things working against it that would be less of a draw for big reveals in the same way that they had been in prior years. So I can see how that kind of happen, and it's unfortunate, but as the show develops and gains steam, I think we will probably see better reveals in future years.
It could get better. Yeah, they could use this as a foundation and really go somewhere with it. It's a good step.
Or it could be, they could deem it a total failure and say never again. And that I've seen reports of them being like, this is our last ditch effort to rebrand it, and they could give up on it. I don't know.
Yeah, and they very well could. I don't. Yeah, weren't they supposed to air a cut down version of it Monday? Did they do that?
I didn't see that they did that.
I didn't see it either. It was my assumption that they were going to cut it down and have a more produced version for television. I thought I'd seen that somewhere. And if that's the case, maybe that show turned out great.
I would like to be the person that had to decide what they cut.
That did not need to be 3 hours long.
No, but to get an hour's worth of usable content out of that 3 hours could be a feat.
Yeah. Going back to the actual announcements, I mean, Tomb Raider, who cares? Who cares? Quantum Break, that looked pretty cool. We got a really short gameplay snippet there.
I'm still not feeling Quantum Break at all.
The game, the TV, or both? Because it's also a television show. Or
well, the television show, like, the clip I've seen from the television show was like B-list Law and Order actors hamming it up, and I'm just not down for that. So I don't want half of my game to be a TV show, anyways. But I mean, even the vague snippets. Most of what they showed from the game was stuff they showed at E3 that was just cinematics. Like, you know, they had like, if you probably collect all the actual gameplay snippets, it's probably like 4 or 5 seconds maybe in that VGX trailer.
Well,
Yeah.
it's one of these weird years where they're still trying to figure shit out, and we're in between consoles, and they're. I mean, I'm sure they busted their ass to get that much for the show. There just can't be that much, and all the good stuff that we already know about. That's, I guess, coming either in the winter or spring.
I did really like the look of No Man's Sky, and it seems like people are kind of with me there. The new Hello Games, I guess it's a space exploration title, is what it's described as. I see people keep saying it's procedurally generated, but I think what it actually is they generated everything in the game once, and everyone experiences that content. It's not like you get your own unique content, but apparently you go explore a star, and once you do it, you can like mark that for everyone else playing on their map, and that's pretty neat.
Yeah, I think so too.
Game. I'm going to have more on that hopefully tomorrow now that I'm done with all the Game of the Year emails that literally took 2 days. But that was the highlight of the show for sure. That's one of the first things that's gotten me really excited about, you know, what next gen could mean in terms of, you know, this is something like legitimately different and really cool.
So their team is only 4 people, right?
Yeah, it's the original 4 core Joe Danger.
I saw people being skeptical about that, but if you've played Joe Danger, I mean, those games are so tightly made and polished that I can
polished for sure.
Like, holy shit. Yeah, it's amazing that those games were made by 4 people, but I think they could pull it off.
It's a very small operation. They're kind of like us. They're small, and they just kind of keep busting ass, and you know, well, unlike them or unlike us, they have 2 shiny products to show for it. But yeah, they're small, and they work hard for sure.
Well, there's also I think the whole studio now is 10 people, but it was the 4 of them that were working on No Man's Sky at the time. They might, you know, bring some more of their people over to
oh, I'm sure.
that. But you know, we don't even have a release date or even a console platform listing, so it's a ways out, and I'm sure they're going to be able to execute on it.
Here's a cool thing.
Yeah. What about the 2 Telltale projects, Game of Thrones and Tales from the Borderlands? I so don't care myself. But I don't. I'm not a Borderlands guy, and I don't really care for. I'm not a fan of Game of Thrones either. So it's a hard sell when you're not into the IP, even if they are good IP.
Yeah, I know Telltale can do some badass stuff, but you know, to see, I'm with you 100%. To see 2 IPs that I care nothing about, I was like, okay, that's cool for someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not into Game of Thrones either. I'm sure it could make a great adventure game just based on what I know of it, and there's a lot of potential there. Borderlands I like, and I'm kind of bored of shooting stuff in it. So Tales from the Borderlands could wind up being something I like, and Telltale's been doing straight games, like drama games now for a while, and they have a lot of talent for comedy too. So there's hopefully a lot of good stuff to come out of that. But
I'm just curious how Telltale's going to just keep dovetailing and picking up IPs, because it's like they're getting recognition from all these outside, you know, HBO and all these outside sources too. So, you know, it's going to be. I feel like this is going to be a regular thing, is like Telltale making a new adventure game based off of this IP.
No, but this has been going on for years. I mean, this has been a slowly building progression. Walking Dead may have knocked it out of the park in terms of them making a great game based on a license, but the Back to the Future games existed before that. They've brought back Monkey Island as a franchise, and they did those Sam & Max games. So licensed stuff that wasn't originating from them it's their stock and trade.
No, but I think they're going to start, you know, picking up on really big current, you know, if you pick up on Back to the Future, you know, or Jurassic Park, these are generally defunct series, but you know, now it's like Walking Dead, Game of Thrones, you know, stuff like that.
How soon is it before we get tired of that engine and its look?
How are they making all these games simultaneously is what I want to know. And
oh man, I have no idea.
Well, I mean, The Wolf Among Us has been getting complaints for its second episode is later than people would have wanted. For this very reason, they're just so busy.
Well, this has happened to them before, too. They've had multiple games in production at once, and then there'd be some delays or quality complaints. So, I mean, I'm a little concerned that they're putting too much on their plate.
Is there a property that you want to see a Telltale game of?
Well, before the Game of Thrones news came out, they had said, "Oh, we got a dream IP," and it sounds like they want to do Star Wars, and I would want to see that too, maybe. Other than that, I'm not sure.
They could do Star Wars well. I'd kind of like to see them make a game based on family ties.
Can I change my answer to that?
There's some lessons in there that we could all learn, I think.
Well, now that we know they can use game properties, why don't they just, balls to the ball? Like, I don't know, something completely stupid. Final Fantasy VII.
That is stupid. Chat's saying...
I was gross for even saying that.
Sanford and Son?
Ooh.
That would be fantastic. That would actually be really cool.
We got a person...
Just one of the dialogue options is just always, "You dummy."
Someone in chat was suggesting Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. That could be interesting.
I had a roommate many years ago who believed that Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure was the best movie made in the 20th century. And I don't know that that's necessarily true.
I don't know about that.
But have you gone back and watched it? Like,
not
as
recently.
An adult, it's really, really good.
Yeah,
all of the beats are strong, and it's funny and smart, and it deserves more credit than I think that would make an excellent Telltale game. Yeah,
it might not be bad. Yeah, we were joking, but it might not be bad at all.
What else do we get? So, that's really been... There's not been a whole lot of news. We got the Steam Machine prototypes going out. I feel like we've been talking about the Steam OS and Steam Machines frequently. I don't know that we have anything else to add on that, other than I wish we all got one. That would be nice. Don't see that happening.
We know there's a big press conference on Monday the 5th in Las Vegas.
For CES, right?
Yeah, it's right before CES kicks off, and Valve has invited press to come up and talk about and hear about something.
Well, it sounded... So they did the announcement post today about the beta stuff. It sounded like they're going to... At this event you're talking about, they're going to announce the launch dates.
It sounds like that, yeah.
I mean, it's... I don't know when they're... I can't remember what quarter they were thinking it was going to be out next year, but, it's got to be coming up, so that would make sense.
And then some of the partners or vendors, whatever you want to call them, that are working alongside Valve to create, I guess, their own kind of launch Steam boxes, are just kind of hinting around what they'll show at CES in the days following that announcement or meetup or whatever it is. So I'm interested to see those. There could be crazy expensive things. I think we'll just see like a range of stuff, and it's kind of interesting how everyone's pretty quiet on what they're going to show. They're just like, be here and we'll show you something cool. So I don't know. I think I'm kind of putting it up on a pedestal in my head, and it won't be...
Maybe, I don't know. No one really knows.
It won't be that big of a deal. I'm kind of excited about the whole thing in general, but at the end of the day, it's just a box, and we just got a couple more boxes under our TV last month. I want more games, and the beginning of next year has some cool games that I like. I don't know if it hits everyone's marks, but I want games for these new boxes, Xbox One and PS4.
Well, proper games, not these cross-generation ports that we keep seeing. They just dated Rayman Legends today, and that's a fantastic game, but I don't know who's buying a PS4 or Xbox One for these ports.
What are some good, fresh things dropping early next year? Lightning Returns, Infamous, maybe The Witness. What else do we got?
Bravely Default, I'm pretty excited about. That's not even on a box. That's a portable game, but still, that's a major game in my head. I don't know. Well, Tales of Symphonia is a port. I don't know. There's not anything big, but if you're a role-playing gamer, then I guess it's kind of a good time.
Well, there's more next month than there is this month.
That's
true. I guess.
Yeah.
So wasteland out there.
I would hate to be buying one of these systems. I think about like moms out there shopping for their kids. They're like, what do I get? And they're looking at these games and they're like, he already has this game. He has this game, you know. And they're souped up versions of those. And what's funny is it's kind of a mess now that across the board, all of these, you know, whether it be the EA Sports games or some of the other cross-gen stuff. I think about Assassin's Creed 4 or there's a few others. Probably 10 or 12 games where they've all been price discounted too. So you know, sometimes they're 40 or 50 bucks for these brand new games that just came out, you know, the end of November. And you're you know, if you're soccer mom buying games for your son for Christmas, you're like, what do I get? Are any of these any good? You know, is there something new and cool that they want to play? And then on the flip side, if you're one of those kids, what games are you asking for? Like, I can't imagine.
Peggle 2, that's it.
Hell yeah,
that's
Peggle
what I
2.
want. I mean,
that's the best game on the Xbox. Sorry, Microsoft. That was the first game where, you know, I get most games in the mail free, you know, PR Company Center or whatever. For some reason, I didn't get that. Chris didn't get Peggle. I wasted no time. As soon as it was up, I went and bought it and downloaded it because that's kind of sad that, you know, I still have some games that are boxed that I haven't opened yet. I didn't say that out loud, did I? Yeah, I'm going to play some of these other ones soon, but for Peggle, it's just like I wasted no time. It's installed, downloaded, and I'm enjoying it. So, but yeah, wouldn't you be pissed to be a kid and get a $500 game system and Peggle be the most exciting thing?
Well, I mean, I thinking back to my childhood, maybe not. I mean, we had different expectations as kids. Just getting the system in and of itself was exciting. I think of all the shitty Super Nintendo games and NES games I rented or played and made myself love.
That's true.
So, I don't know.
My Genesis, my Christmas Genesis came with, what was that DuckTales game on the Genesis? Or was it DuckTales?
Quackshot?
Tailspin.
Or what?
No, it was Tailspin.
No. Tailspin.
That game was kind of rad, actually. Tailspin. Who made that? I don't know. It's one of those Disney not major properties, but still kind of cool. And
well, a lot of those Disney games are awesome.
Oh, for sure. But that one wasn't really. Even as a kid, I knew that it wasn't that good of a game. I guess I shouldn't dump on these launch games. There's some good ones. It's just, I don't know. Knack is their Tailspin right now, you know, or
those poor bastards.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, it's the best ones aren't the marquee ones. The best ones are like Resogun and Peggle.
Which you know, these kids aren't. It's not going to be obvious to those kids because those things aren't on store shelves, and maybe people are talking about them less. You know, if they read like, you know, if they read Destructoid.com or whatever, they'll see that we dug Resogun, but you know, why am I worried about the kids? Who cares about the kids?
I hope the kids are not reading Destructoid.com.
I don't know. Yeah.
They'll learn some bad things.
Too many people are thinking about the children. It's fine. Let them play dumb games.
Yeah.
They deserve it. Kids suck.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they do.
One thing I wanted to talk about was, so we've been doing these community kind of polls where we solicit feedback, and one of the topics was the worst games we played this year. And no surprise, there's a lot of Aliens, Colonial Marines in there. I haven't even played that game, thankfully.
Oh,
Did you play it, Connor? You played it?
Yeah, it's not good. It's just boring, and
that's the worst kind of bad. It's boring, I think.
Yeah, I wasn't really enamored of it, and I'm not a big Aliens fan. Like, I wasn't emotionally invested in Colonial Marines or anything of that sort. And so when it came out, it was disappointing that it wasn't good because conceptually I like Aliens, but to be a fan of it and have that game come out, that had to be devastating. I can't imagine what those people felt. It was hard.
I mean, it's the game is so bad that now people are worried about this next game that's from a completely different, rumored to be from a completely different developer. I mean, what is it? Isolation was the trademark, so
which conceptually sounds really good and much closer to Alien.
Yeah, what is it? Ripley's daughter is supposed to be the protagonist. I mean, there's some weird things in there.
Stuff with them making it canon and how they handle that. But yeah, no, I mean, part of me is just fears it's going to be like Dead Space Alien version, but
I think
I
we'll be
hope
okay.
not.
When you get spanked that hard, you remember it, right? So, I mean, I know some stuff about the game, but, you know, and we won't get into that. Like, let's just say that going into it after being spanked that hard, you're going to, you know, you're going to have your ears down and your tail between your legs, and you're going to approach it the right way, or at least try to.
Well, you're going to try and prove yourself that much harder.
That too, yeah. I think we'll be okay with this. If not, then people are going to write off the whole IP for the rest of time.
Yes.
In this case, it's 2 strikes, you're completely out, you know. So it'll be fine. I didn't play that many bad games this year. Did you, Jordan?
I didn't play that many good games, so no, not really. I mean, to be honest, like pretty much everything I played, I wanted to play and enjoyed a lot. Like I did not play Ride to Hell Retribution. Which is another one.
God, that was really bad too.
I remember watching you play it.
Oh, I had actually blocked that from my memory. Thank you so much.
I wanted to play it when I heard how bad it was. I just didn't get around to it.
No, Joe. Oh, the first time that you wind up having totally unattractive, like ball shriveling sex with some woman on the basis that you like knocked a guy out of her way, it's gross. The second time it happens, you just shut the damn thing off.
I did not see this part.
Oh, it's bad. There's these scripted sequences, and you can't avoid it. That's the thing. Like, it's presented like you can help this person, but you can't. You can't. You're just driving them further into a myth-induced misery. It's terrible. It's awful. I hate it.
Yeah, I can't think of anything I hated this year.
Same.
And I'm trying. See, that was the thing. When we were talking about how this might be a topic, I was like, oh, I can't really, you know, I try to focus on the positive, and I can't think of any. And then Jordan comes along and just brings up the 2.
Oh, these games. Blame the readers. They brought it to my attention. Well, and someone else. So this, I know you played this, Conrad. Deadpool.
Deadpool wasn't bad for what it was.
Yeah.
I think the expectations are generally lower on the basis of a licensed property like that, and I mean, there's some of the writing was pretty dumb, but the gameplay wasn't bad. It was all right. I thought that was fine. I mean, it's the sort of game that I would give a 6 to. That, you know, it didn't blow any minds, but if you're a Deadpool fan, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't enjoy it.
Cookie Clicker.
No, that game might be evil, but it's brilliant.
I should say that on behalf of everyone else who wasn't doing work and was playing that game.
Yeah.
It's 4, right?
Yeah.
Fucking Cookie Clicker. Oh my god.
I mean, so one thing that kind of surprised me, and this is the last one I'll go to, is there's a ton of talk of BioShock Infinite, not necessarily as the worst game, but as a disappointing game.
I wasn't gonna say it.
Are you a BioShock hater? Because
Okay. Let's just put it this way: on all of my voting, whether it was you know, E3 voting or Spike voting or our own website's voting, which will come up next week, I didn't list it on anything because it didn't speak to me at all. Disappointing? Yeah, it was disappointing as well. I wasn't expecting that much when I saw where it was going, and I definitely didn't follow the hype train. But it's not for me, man. I don't. I didn't hate it though. It wasn't a bad game.
Yeah.
It just wasn't for me.
I don't think it was a bad game at all. I quite liked it. I don't think it was
a bad game actually.
I don't think it was a great game, but that first hour.
It wasn't a phenomenal shooter. Is the big problem I had with it. The skyline combat didn't really. It wasn't interesting enough to me to make use of after just the novelty wore off maybe 20 minutes into its availability. But it is a game that the more I spend examining the plot and the story, I appreciate it more. When I had completed it the first time and it reaches the sort of climactic moment that, for God forbid somebody hasn't played it, I won't spoil it, but I felt at first as though it was a real cop-out. An interesting statement on game design, but a bit of a cop-out. And thematically, I think that some of that is still there. But the plot itself was, much more attention was paid to the plot in a lot of ways than I had initially thought.
Well,
and
yes.
I gained a real appreciation for it.
We were having this conversation because I only just played it, I guess, last month, pretty much in the span of a couple days, I think. And so we kind of dug into some of these wikis, and the more you dig into the plot, I think the more you'll appreciate it. But if you kind of fly through Infinite, yeah, there's so many things that you won't really fully comprehend.
And you've got to have so many of the pieces to put it together. I mean,
Right.
really the smarter thing to do is to just play the game once, go and read a really thorough plot summary, and then play the game again and see all the things that you missed. And it really does come together pretty well. But it necessitates 2 plays. And I mean, while I appreciate a story that I can revisit again and again and get something more out of, having to finish it twice to comprehend it at all is a bit of a problem.
Good.
I'm not one of those people with movies, games, or anything. The multiple experiencing type things. Yeah, I mean, I did really like that first hour of it, especially the intro sequence. But like Dale, even as much as I liked the game, it might have ended up on some of my nominations, but for some of the categories. But overall, it could have been way higher, I think, had the game been a bit better.
Man, we had a lot of games this year, though.
We did.
Man, and a lot of them were good. Holy cow. It was really hard for me to sort out like the end of the year kind of voting stuff. And to look at, we had a spreadsheet internally that you guys all saw of just all the games that, maybe we should consider for these lists. And that's a ton of good games.
I mean, the hardest part, I think, was that there was all these good games, but they're completely different types of games, and it's very hard to list them out 1 to 10 and figure out which one is the best. It's just
especially
it's hard to compare.
When some genres aren't in your wheelhouse. For me, I think I played 3 shooters this year. So for me to put together 10, it's just like, geez, I don't know what to do here.
I'm not
RPGs,
even voting
I blew it
on
up.
racing games. Like, I'm not even voting on racing games.
I was
That's how most
just about
people
to say
are.
racing games.
Yeah,
What was there,
racing
like
games,
4?
most people are like, fuck it.
There was like 4 released.
Yeah.
Plus Race to the Sun. But
Well,
there were so many
forgot
things
about
that
that,
don't
sadly.
really fit comfortably into categories. Like, where do you put Luigi's Mansion, Dark Moon? Like, is it
Put it on a list of
game?
badass.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly. Or I think like Fire Emblem, of course, ends up for us in like best RPG, but like I don't even think it came up in strategy at all. There's some
Oh, that's interesting.
weird things going on there.
Wow. It's for
And
sure a
it's-
strategy game.
Yeah, they'll see next week. There's some strange.
Oh, we'll
Ways
hear
voting
all
happen.
about their complaints.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that there are a few games among the nominees that people are going to be looking at and be like, that's not even that genre. And you know what?
It happens. It's hard. This is not an easy thing to do.
You know what? Preliminary tabulation took me 2 entire days, so they can suck it.
It's fun to do, but it's also a bitch. It really is. It's just, even for one person to put together their list is a bitch. Just to put together a whole team's, and present it is like ridiculous.
Well, Hamza
should
gave us this deadline that was weeks away, and I know personally I waited till the night it was due. And
I found out
people-
the morning after it was due that
Exactly.
it was due and said, well, I'll just vote in the finals then.
I think Brett did that as well.
I started to send mine in, and then I reached the categories that I just don't, feel comfortable picking 10 for them. I was just like, fuck it, I'll do this later.
So wait, who nominated these? None of us nominated.
We worked together to nominate them. Emails went out to say, hey, what was hot? What should we put on this list?
That's true.
No, it drew from a large pool of people.
Yeah, it's just still a mess. It'll never be a super organized thing.
Mm-mm.
Well, that was sort of the curse and the blessing of having a diverse staff that plays a lot of weird things. When you're trying to take one category has like 50 entrants and you're trying to see what adds up to make the 10 to then make the number one winner.
Like, I hadn't played Brothers until this week, where someone on Twitter day before yesterday told me they hadn't played Fire Emblem, and I was like, if you want to continue this relationship, you'll drop everything and play that shit. You're like, don't talk to me until you've played that game.
Well, I've heard people say that about Brothers as well.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So we all have one of those games or more.
Yep. And that's what I'm saying. It was a really good year. Can't hate too much on the bad games, because if I can't think of any, I know there were some, but if I can't think of any that I played, then it's a pretty good year. I think we'll have a fair bit next year of games we don't like. I have a feeling.
It seems likely.
Yeah.
It's just karmic revenge.
Maybe.
You had it too good this year.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think we should just give Persona 4 Golden all of this year's Game of the Year awards. That'd make my life easier.
So many people like it. It feels like a safe thing to do.
Yeah, exactly. They'd be
always got
fine
that
with it.
3% that's like, oh, you fucking weeaboos. Kill yourself. But like, for the most part, that game is so widely accepted that people that don't play role-playing games like that game. And that makes me happy to see, because as a fan. We'll see how Persona 5 goes. I don't know they'll live up to expectations now.
They're really high, so
yeah, they're ridiculous.
It would be hard to do.
The PS3 announcement was enough. People were like, okay, this is going to be cool. They've only made one PS3 game. It was Catherine, which, whatever.
Which was great.
We'll see.
I love it.
I like it.
I loved it.
I did. But
less universally loved, though, than...
Yeah.
For sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
So here's the thing we missed. We skipped over Survival Instinct, the Walking Dead game. The other Walking Dead game.
That's so bad it's good, right?
Is it?
No, it's
I don't know if I believe you. It looks pretty.
It's not.
So there's our one really terrible game of the year.
It's that once-a-year game that's just like, how the fuck did this get made and released game,
I like, Conrad was saying before about trying to be positive, and I attempt to be that as well, but I do love it when we have this one game that everyone can universally come together and shit on. There's something enjoyable about that.
It's like, shit games unite us. That's great.
Yeah, exactly. We're united in our hate.
Yeah. Well, that game is a... Wow. See, that's the thing. Going back to Aliens, I don't know that many people played it, so it's like they heard it was bad.
Mm-hmm.
I think the people that did play it, like Conrad and Jim and others, they should get some kind of special credit or reward for working through that. The same with the Walking Dead survival game. It's like a fucking video game merit badge. You need that if you can prove you went through that game and you got achievements or whatever. We can all talk about shit games all day, but the people that played it, man, hats off. God, it's a tough job.
To complement, so getting back to positivity, the other thread we had was our favorite memories, and these are always so hard to come up with, because I kind of don't reflect on the past, I guess, enough to be able to ever contribute to these. I mean, a lot of Last of Us mentions in here.
Yeah. God, I keep forgetting about Last of Us. I really like DMC, and my mind keeps going back to that. And it came up on a lot of my lists, and there's just a whole bunch of moments that I really liked in that game, whether it be the battles or one-liners or just like kind of like I'm smiling and eye rolling at the same time.
I have not played it. I didn't know that I should play it, so I'll have to check that out.
It's great. It's the Destructoid logo's on the back of the box, man.
Is it? The news to me.
Highly endorsed.
Also play the Enslaved PC port, because Enslaved is really good and nobody bought it.
But the port's not good though.
Oh.
It's not. You have to do a bunch of manual tweaks to get it to be decent. And I love Enslaved so much.
Yeah,
so
that was a great one.
I'm with you in that sentiment, but the port is not great, sadly.
I think
Master Race.
One of the most enjoyable experiences I've had this year was playing Stanley Parable HD. And, because it's a game that is about narrative in games in a lot of ways. And it really got me thinking. And I went through most of the possibilities in it. And And then for the next 6 hours, all I did was think about the various ideas that it presents on choice and linear narrative and non-linear narrative, and really a brilliant piece of work. That's probably been one of my most enjoyable experiences this year. It's just being able to sit and soak in something that is very funny, but also has a lot of intellectual merit to it.
I have a lot of memories of trying to defend myself on Twitter and Facebook after I said that I did not care for that game.
Well, and it's understandable not to care for it, too. I mean, it's definitely not I don't want to say it's not fun. There's not a whole lot going on there, and if you're not interested in someone talking at you for half an hour, it's not going to work for you.
Yeah. It was neat. You know, Gone Home's another one of those games where I thought it was something, and a lot of people don't think it's anything at all. In fact, I'm sure it made that worst game of the year list, didn't it, Jordan?
I don't know that I mean, I'm sure
someone
it did.
mentioned it.
Yeah.
Someone mentioned it in BioShock.
People got mad hate for that game.
They came after you for liking it.
Oh, I know. I continually hear about it.
Those people are the worst, though, so that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally cool if you don't like these types of games, and I have a feeling we're going to see a lot more of these types of games.
Oh,
but
yeah.
to go after someone who does like it, it seems silly.
Bring it
Sorry,
on.
you.
With, like the worst arguments too, just the whole it's not a game. Like, wait, why?
Okay.
Do you care? And, like,
Is it
whatever.
okay, we move on. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
think,
thing I played. Felt like a game to me.
Stumbling on Kentucky Route Zero early in the year was one of the nice moments of the year. Also, just Luigi's Mansion, which everyone forgot about, but it's so good.
Yeah.
The multiplayer is great. The single player is great.
And Nintendo killed it this year.
Yeah.
A lot of good memories. Even recently with the new Super Mario 3D World. God, that game is good. Holy crap, that game is good.
I'm having that same type of feeling. So I guess my favorite would be Rayman Legends. There's some of the shit in there is just mind-blowingly good, and I don't.
Battles.
The boss battles, the music levels, like one of them is Eye of the Tiger from a mariachi band that you play by playing the level. It's so cool and visually remarkable. I mean, I feel bad the game sold poorly, and there hasn't been that much buzz about it for how good the game is.
Such a shame.
Yeah.
Puppeteer too.
Puppeteer is the same way. Yeah, that kind of came out and whoop. No one's talking about it.
Both those games in my top list this year, for sure. All the games we're talking about. Man, so many good ones. But there's so many opportunities for these to be overshadowed by, Mega Franchise 4 and Shooter Face 5 or whatever. I don't want to be that guy because there's some good franchise releases that have come out, but there's so much other good stuff that I just hate. When I don't want to even think about the sales numbers of Puppeteer because I know it didn't do well enough. But God, that game is so good. It's ridiculous. We gotta fight the good fight.
I mean, that's the way it is in entertainment. Is you get these blockbuster releases, they get the most energy in marketing because that's how they make money. I mean, it's just a sad truth.
And we have to keep explaining to people why other games are really good.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, hey, my nephew come over and he's 13 or 14, and he saw that I had a pile of PS4 and Xbox One games. I was like, have at it, dude. And he was enjoying himself and oohing and awing and was wowing. And he's like, well, what are you playing out of all this? I'm like, I'm playing a game called Papers, Please. And he's like, I haven't heard of that. I was like, yeah.
You casual noob.
I don't get mad about it. I'm just like, fuck. Okay, cool. Enjoy your, shooter face or whatever. I would love to show you this, but I know you're not going to spend more than 5 minutes playing it if it isn't on your iPhone or isn't on, big screen with, a reticle in the middle of the screen or whatever. But
right, but would you have played Papers, Please at his age?
Yeah. At his age, I remember being like face into 80, 100 hours plus Genghis Khan, Noah Bunga's Ambition, like fucking strategy RPGs where it was literally squares, and and you know, squares of Chinese people's faces, badly drawn, by the way, and just a shit ton of text. And I was like, yes, this is. But I'm a fucking weirdo, and I know that, and I don't want my nephew to be a weirdo.
Well, I mean, it's just as much as I acknowledge I love Papers, Please, but I think if I had been a kid, I would have played something more action oriented. I mean,
Sure.
There's always been this sort of idea that games are for kids, and I'm really grateful for games existing like Papers, Please that really should have no appeal to a child whatsoever.
That's true.
You know, like there's another fine example of a game I used to have for my Commodore 64. We got it as a birthday present for my mother one year, and it's a simulator of the Chernobyl nuclear accident.
Jesus.
That you can try to prevent. And I looked at it and I was like, there's no way. But my mother used to write technical manuals for nuclear submarines in her early career. And so it was fascinating for her and something that was clearly aimed at that audience. And so it's okay that not everything appeals to everyone. Variety and options are good, because then I will always have something that interests me out there.
I'm just kind of selfish in that I want everyone to play what I enjoyed so much this year. You know, it was like me beating down that guy for not playing Fire Emblem. I know the pickup rate on Japanese strategy RPGs is low, you know, even though that game did pretty well. I just want people to play this because I want people to enjoy it as much as I enjoyed it. You know, that's why I get so excited when something like Persona 3 and Persona 4 came out of nowhere. No one gave a shit about the first two games. And now people continue to talk about those games.
Mm-hmm.
I get really excited when people get behind the stuff that I dug as well.
And it's nice when you don't get like a Valkyria Chronicles situation of
right.
PSP, no localization.
Punch in the face, kill myself.
I mean that is a large part of our jobs. There's satisfaction there is telling people about games they haven't heard about and making them fans of it. It's rewarding.
I mean, so many people responded to my Tearaway review were like, oh, you know, I was not going to probably buy it, it's consoles and other stuff's out, but I read your review and I was interested. And like, these people are like, I'm so glad I read your review. I just finished the game last night with tears, staying up all night, and like, it's so great. And it feels good. Like, I'm like, yeah, you had the same cool experience that I had, and I had some influence in spurring you on to make that decision.
That's a game like if my nephew had a Vita, and I gave him Tearaway, he would be genuinely like, I mean, he would be blown away by that game. Any kid would. Anyone would, period. I don't know, but you know, Conrad does have a really good point that, you know, it's fine for all these different experiences to go all these different ways, and that, you know, a kid just at base level should want to play the coolest looking, loudest, flashiest thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we just gotta hope that there's some cool kids out there too that want to see this other stuff.
Well, and they'll grow out of it. Hopefully.
Maybe.
Hopefully.
Oh yeah, I hope so. Yeah. Some never do.
No.
I don't want to get into that too much, but some never ever do, and it's sad.
I mean, it's okay. It's okay if they don't grow out of it and they're in their own little circle away from us. That's fine with me.
Yeah. Way over there.
You know, and it's not like I can't enjoy like a big name franchise release because I do all the time, the time. You know, I'm not shitting on major franchise games, but man, it just bums me out to think about how many people are missing these really cool games. So I guess all we can do is keep on doing what we're doing and be loud about it and share it with as many people as possible. And for me, forcing games down people's throats. Like I have a folder in my email basket, and it's just codes, games that I got for free. And chances are I've already had that game or whatever. And if I run into someone, and I've done this everywhere, if I run into someone that reads Destructoid or just like is a cool dude or I'd met and likes gaming, if I have something that I think they'll want to play, I'll literally just pull out my phone, dig through there, find a code, and text it to them when I meet them. I'm like, play this shit. This is cool, you know? And I like to think that I'm like doing my part to push back against, you know, the mindless re-release of, you know, .7 or whatever every year. Like I want people to check out some of this cool shit, and that's the only way I know how to do it, other than writing about it.
You see that, I see that a lot, and I've done this occasionally, where now with all these bundled sales, you get an extra copy of the game. It's so easy to do that and then spread the game to friends.
Yeah.
And it's a good strategy too for the developers to raise awareness.
There's no like gifting on PS4 or Xbox One, is there yet?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I thought that was a huge thing they should have done.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, people buy people's stuff on Steam all the time. It's so easy to generate another sale when you let people buy people things.
I don't know how a lot of things work on those systems. Like, I don't know how used games work. I don't, It's just like a new thing that's there, and we'll figure out later. There's so much going on. But yeah, you're right. The gifting thing should be like a given, just like it should work right now. I would buy people's shit right away. Like, there's just cool-ass games that need to be bought. Well, I don't know about... I don't know. Maybe that's the problem. There's not a lot of cool games out for those systems yet. We'll figure out gifting when the cool, cheap stuff comes out. Right, but that's like to get an email and have, a code for this cool $20 game in your inbox. And just be able to type it in, and when you get home, start, jumping in. That's pretty awesome. It's always a good feeling. I like when I get codes.
Yeah.
It's my job, So to get it in an email as a gift is awesome, I think. Whatever. They'll figure it out.
I think that'll do it for us this week. This has been Hardline. Please check us out on... I think this might be our last Twitch recording, so we might not be doing this live anymore, but we will be on YouTube, youtube.com/Destructoid, or is it Detoid? Detoid/Detoid. And we have an iTunes page for Hardline as well. I don't know the URLs for those are crazy, so just Google it if you would. Damn you, Apple. But thanks so much for listening. I'm Jordan Devore at DetoidJordan on Twitter. Dale, what's yours? Is it Corgi King?
I wish. It
should be
North
just
Twitter.
at Dale North.
Yeah. Damn, I need to get on that Corgi King, actually.
You do. Conrad is at Conrad
Conrad
Zimmerman.
Zimmerman. Yeah.
Yep. And Steven.
At Detoid Steven.
There you go.
Yeah.
Bye.